Play my theme song. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Nick Flanagan Weekly. I am Nick. I am here. I'm in the house. I'm in the hizzy. In the schnaz poop. That's not anything, but I just say whatever words I want. I am live recording this again on YouTube only. Sometimes I live record it. Yesterday I overdid it. Yesterday I tried to record it on YouTube, on Facebook Live, on Instagram Live, and on my recording program, which I've actually forgotten to load up so far. So hopefully this one works. You know what I'm saying? Because if this cacks out, then this episode's gone. And if I don't have this episode, well, I don't have an episode for tonight, and the algorithm gets all funky. Oh, God, why do I go into that type of a voice? Thank you for watching and listening to episodes this week. I posted an interview with Chris Locke as a podcast only, but I might put up some video from it because I took some rudimentary video. And the other day I talked about Andre Williams and memories I had of seeing him. Check out his album with the Sadies. Andre Williams did just a great job with the Sadies. I don't want to brag, but right now on YouTube I have one person watching, and I say to them, hello, how are you? Well, so let me just share this on Facebook real quick. Person watching, why don't you tell me how you feel? Yeah, I talked about Andre Williams on one episode, did some rambling about ADHD and self-medication, and what else did I do? I talked yesterday about sex comedies. That was pretty much lost to the ages. That was just a live stream. Sorry, I'm just posting this. We'll be back to business in a moment. Anyway, so that's what I did this week, and I live streamed it all, and then I've been posting the episodes, and it's been really fun, and people seem to enjoy it, and I'm enjoying it. Look at me. Now, I don't want to brag. I am the bad boy of Canada's punk alternative comedy scene. The punk alternative comedy scene took a look at me, and they said, this guy might be too bad for this scene. They would read Jello Biafra's literature, listen to his spoken word album, and then when I came around, they were like, this guy blows Biafra out of the water. Joey Shithead of DOA? They were like, oh man, this guy's way crazier. I do the craziest stuff. People don't want to talk about it. My name is Nick. I'm the host of Nick Flanagan Weekly, titular host, constantly regretting using my name so much. I'm really not that kind of a person. I'm not obsessed with getting my name out there because I feel like the more your name is out there, the more there's going to be a bounty on your head. You know what I'm saying? You go out there and you say, hey, I'd like to be famous. Next thing you know, the paparazzi are taking a picture of your car crash. I don't want to do that. I drive like a little old lady on drugs. I've been doing comedy, music, all kinds of things for a minute. But now I have a podcast. It's all about what it's like watching someone after a nervous breakdown use Canada's relatively plentiful mental health resources to rebuild himself in his own, as he wishes to look. Look at me. I'm better than ever. You can be on medicine. Don't let people say, don't take medication. Your personality is enough. You got a great personality. The medication will take your personality away. Look, I got news for you. Probably your personality ain't better than functioning. Probably your art is not better than functioning. You know, I was talking to someone last week about Nanette, which I brought up on this show before, the comedy special Nanette, flavor of the year, Hannah Gadsby, Australian comedian. And he was saying, so the thesis of Nanette is that because Pablo Picasso had a relationship with a 17-year-old when he was 42, his art is invalid. That's a big part of a chunk of Nanette. Now, this is a highbrow comedy special she does. She's talking about Pablo Picasso. This ain't one of these Chris D'Elia ones where he's talking about, how dumb Instagrammers are. No, this is a lady talking about Pablo Picasso. Give me the Instagram material. I think I'm more comfortable with the Instagram material. No, I'm just kidding. I want you to joke about Pablo Picasso. I was once dating a woman, and we went to this Pablo Picasso exhibition. This is before the 17-year-old thing invalidated his work. And we were looking at a picture of him, and she went, "Whoa, look at that bulge." In that moment, I felt like less of a man than Pablo Picasso. And I think him at 42 dating a 17-year-old was a way of psychically making me feel less than years later, and many other men. He wanted to be the boss of all men, and he did it through art. Oscar Wilde once said sarcasm is the lowest form of wit, but I think he was being sarcastic. How you doing? I'm Nick Flanagan. I don't want to be one of those people whose name is out there. Because then you got a Tumblr post that goes, Nick Flanagan came to my coffee shop and he forgot to pay for the cappuccino that he ordered. Well, no, I didn't forget to pay. What happened was you smiled, gave me a little nod, and I thought you were saying the cappuccino was free. So I took it. I stood around for a while. You didn't do anything. I waltzed out of there. Total misunderstanding. I didn't mean to steal a cappuccino. I already feel somehow regretful and sad, even though the cappuccino story is a lie. I embodied it so hard that I'm feeling the pain of it right now. Someone said don't use the computer tonight. I'm exhausted. I got up early by my standards after staying up late. And the phone rang. Someone told me information. I went back to bed. The phone rang 10 minutes later. They gave me information. And I couldn't get back to bed. And I've been up all day. Went to a meeting. Like I've talked about before, the power of groups, man. Women, non-binds. The power of groups is an incredible, incredible thing. That's why fish travel in schools. And fish, for people who are always in schools, they haven't seemed to get any smarter for millions of years. Think about that. Pretty trippy stuff. Awooga! Oh, if I'm going to stay up late live streaming a podcast episode, I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to tell some weird, dumb jokes, and you're going to like it. Don't have any likes yet, so if the one person watching this on YouTube Live could just smash that like button, tell a friend or two, I would feel validated. But yeah, I've been going to these groups once a week for months now, and I really recommend that if you feel down, you do this. You look up the thing that you're feeling, and you look for a free support group, because you may find people who what they're doing resonates, how they're feeling resonates with you. And it's not a label. It's a means of finding out something that might help you manage your own particular unique self. I originated everything. I don't normally like to brag, but I've invented almost everything in this new culture. The post-2000s culture, starting in 95. My bands have always had funny lyrics. No bands before my band had funny lyrics. So Brutal Knights, Team Core Combo, all my old bands, for a long time, they were the only band who had humorous lyrics that were also honest. There were no other bands doing this. If you can name a band that did funny, honest lyrics about me, name checking me specifically, I will immediately send you the Patreon only perks I've put on my Patreon so far, which are about 1 or 2. That's what I originated. I originated lead singers who don't also play instruments. I was the first lead singer in a band to say, I don't need an instrument. I'm that good. Before me, there were no lead singers who did that. So after me, you'll notice there was like Adam Levine doesn't play instruments. Lana Del Rey doesn't play instruments, and that's because I sort of started it with my bands. So that's just another thing they buried my part in the history, and it's a part of a secret subcultural history, and I'm part of that. I was the first person to do barter and trade. So, for instance, I'm wearing headphones right now. A couple years ago, I traded for these headphones. I traded a couple of Subway tokens for these headphones. And before that, there had been no real trading in the 21st century. So I also started that. I'm the inventor of barter and trade 21st century edition. Didn't have anything to do with Bitcoin. I'm going to tell you right now, that's not one of the things I helped originate. I'm just starting to understand Bitcoin, and I'm loving it. If someone had told me like exactly what it was, they were like, dude, imagine the internet itself paid you to exist and there was no paper trail. I would have bought 100 Litecoins right then and there. Now, of course, it's all very expensive, which leads me to another question. I recently downloaded the program Electrum, and I'm thinking of taking donations via Bitcoin and Litecoin and whatever other coin there is. Any fans of the coin, let me know if you think I should allow donations of that sort, because I think it's really fun to do. Okay. Another thing I originated was there weren't a lot of people reading the rock biographies before I started reading them. In about 1993, I was in the library and I saw a copy of No One Here Gets Out Alive, the Doors biography. Nobody. And I went up to the librarian and I said, is this available? And the librarian said to me, no one's ever taken out one of these rock biographies or autobiographies before. I don't understand. No one, as far as I know, no one reads them. They come out and nothing. So I said, I'll take one. I said, are there any more of these? And he introduced me to Hit Hard, Joey Kramer from Aerosmith's autobiography. He introduced me to, there's a biography of Dr. Dre. Nobody had read these. And when I started reading them and I was on the bus, subway reading these things, I'm all about reading publicly so people can see the spine of the books, which is another thing I originated. I hate to put Scott Rogowski on blast, my friend, guest on the show, Scott Rogowski, host of HQ Trivia Live. He did a series of viral videos. This is what really made his bones, as the mafia say, when somebody succeeds. He would do these things where he's reading a book and it's got a funny name. I didn't do that, but I was the first person to make videos of just me reading rock biographies. What happened was I'd go on YouTube reading these rock bios, and I would make videos, secret hidden camera videos of me reading the rock bios, because at that time, people would see me reading them and go, what's that? I go, did you know Miles Davis had a autobiography? And they go, what? And that's why a lot of musicians still thank me to this day, because I opened up a whole new revenue stream. Because a lot of them, when they would put out a book, the musicians were like they didn't know anything about the book industry. So the book publisher would say, hey, Miles Davis, I want to make you to write an autobiography. We don't really have any money, and we might not, you'll only get paid if people read it, Miles Davis. And he'd go like, oh, that's cool. I'd love to write a book. And then the book comes out. Nobody buys it because, as I said, I originated reading rock autobiographies. And suddenly I buy it. Miles Davis's estate makes millions because everyone starts buying it after I bought it. So reading rock biographies was one of the things I invented. I invented a lot of I kind of invented puns in the 21st century. If you listen to my first comedy album, I'm Here All Week, WEAK, it's all kinds of crazy puns, and that wasn't happening before my stand-up, which kind of leads to my next point. I originated alternative comedy. Period. I did that. I started in Toronto and I looked at the comedy scene. I said, there is no alternative here. Nothing. So I came up with this crazy character. He's reading from a book. He's telling dirty jokes. This is like 1999, 2000. I'm doing this, revolutionizes the scene. And I would get emails from Americans. What is this thing you're doing in Toronto? I've never heard of this before. I said, well, I call it alternative comedy. And they go, what is that, an alternative to comedy? And I say, no. What the hell? No. It's like a crazy version of comedy, a cooler version of comedy. So I go on a message board and I say, hey, I invented this thing. It's called alternative comedy. All the comedians suddenly, from Louis C.K., Zach Galifianakis, Sarah Silverman's, Dr. Brown. He's a clown who lives in LA. Dr. Brown. They're all reading this, and I don't want to put them on blast, but suddenly Mark Maron's reading this. They start saying they're alternative comedy. And next thing you know, I'm the originator, the inventor of it. Nobody cares. Nobody knows. Do you know how hard that is for someone who already has low self-esteem to deal with? It's very hard. So I invent alternative comedy. I even went to patent it. Galifianakis got there first. Harsh. So that's something I invented. And not to sleep on Joe Mandy, not to shit all over Joe Mandy. Great guy. He puts out a mixtape. That's his thing. He puts out a comedy mixtape a few years ago. If you go into my room, if you go into my basement at my house in the annex, it's like a mansion, this place. It's worth like $3, $4, $5 million. 17 maybe million. And there's a cat. The cat's worth $20 at least. More probably. Anyway, go to the basement, you'll see in like 2004, I put out the Nick Flanagan comedy mixtape. So, and yeah, I didn't get the big name people doing the music drops. I think his mixtape has like, yo, 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 this is Harmar Superstar. You're listening to Joe Mandy. I don't have that. But I would go in between. I go, yo, you're listening to the Nick Flanagan mixtape. Because I keep it real. This is another thing I originated. I was the first white Nas fan. Believe it or not. I went to the HMV on Yonge Street in Toronto. I was about 13, 14 years old. Walk up to the counter. Everybody's like, who's this guy? Who's this teen? I'm walking up to the counter, and it's taking a while for me to get to the counter. And I finally get there, and I go, what are the new releases this week? And the cashier's like, I don't know. Dumb. So, of course, I look around, and then I see there's these stairs to an area called the basement. BASSMENT. The basement. That's where the bass comes from. So it's like a pun. But I'd already been doing puns before that, so they were sort of copying me, just doing that. Anyway, I go downstairs. I don't want to say I was the only white person there, but I was. And there's this big cutout, stand-up, cardboard cutout of this guy named Naz. And I look at this and I go, hey, who's this guy? And the dude turns to me and says, you don't know Naz? This guy's great. He's got a new record called Nomadic. I say, wow, I'll try it. Sure. He says, before you try, why don't you try before you buy? Well, okay, cool, but I don't have any way to listen to it. He says, you know what, dude, you look nice. Here, have a Discman. Free Discman suddenly. This guy gave me a free Discman. I was probably the first person outside of the basement to actually get a Discman, because this is like 1993, 1994, and there weren't really Discmans publicly available. Not really, anyway. But so I'm in the basement, and the guy gives me a Discman, hands me a CD. It's Nas Illmatic. I say, wow, I love the cover. Who's on the cover? He says, that's Nas. But he's a kid, but now he's an adult, and he made a rap record. I say, I got to put this on. He says, well, now's your chance. And I go to use the Discman, no batteries in it. And the guy's so nice, he gets me batteries. He goes over to the back, comes back with batteries. I put the batteries in the Discman, hit play, the beginning of the Nas song, New York State of Mind starts, and I go through the roof. Forget it. I'm sold. And he looks at me and he goes, you like it? I go, yeah. He goes, you're the first white person to ever listen to this album. I was like, that's awesome. I don't consider myself white, but thank you. I'm more of like a global citizen. That's all the stuff I originated. I mean, I'm sure there's more, but that's a lot of the main stuff. But I'm sure there's more, so I should talk about it. I think I invented the first podcast about mental health, this podcast. Before I did this podcast, there wasn't really, mental health was kind of so stigmatized that nobody at all was talking about it anywhere. And then I kind of was at home, I'm listening to Illmatic still, you know, even though it's 2019. And I'm like, you know, someone's got to do it. Someone's got to talk about mental health on a podcast. Why not me? I went through the reasoning. Why not me? Why shouldn't I? Do I ramble? Well, yeah, I ramble. Do I sort of come up with reasoning that isn't based in logic? Sure. Do I make assumptions? Yeah. Do I know anything about the scientific causes of mental illness really beyond what I've read? No. But you know what? I'm the guy. So there it was. I invented Nickflanaganweakly, the very first podcast about mental health. So that's huge. And you can add that to my Wikipedia. I have no problem with you doing that. In fact, if you want to add anything to my Wikipedia, that would be frigging awesome. And actually, I'm one of the first comedians ever to not have a Wikipedia, which I should point out was actually a choice I made. A lot of times someone will make a Wikipedia about me and I'll read it and I'll go, you know, I'm too humble. So that's something that happens. But if you want to make my Wikipedia entry now, you have my permission, because I have finally come to, I'm at peace with the fact I'm like what they call a reluctant celeb. You know, like what Pamela Lee was. She didn't really want to be famous. Pamela Anderson Lee. She was just someone who wanted to be like in beer commercials, Playboy, movies, TV, be a spokesperson for PETA. But she didn't want to get like famous. And I'm a lot like that. Like I want to be in beer commercials. I want to, if someone asks me, who are you voting for? I want to be able to say Bernie, but I can't even vote in Canada. But I was the first Canadian Bernie supporter. I should let you know that. That's another thing about me too. I've originated so much stuff. The glasses that I wear, my signature black frame glasses, no male wore these glasses until I bought them. So again, I mean, the amount of things I've invented, I mean, it blows your mind. And what really sucks is I don't, like, I'm the one that has to say it. There is nobody writing my history. I have to write my own history. And I don't think that's fair, because I've got better things to do. What are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? What are you going to do? I just typed into the chat thing, any questions? Chat's a little bit dead. The live chat I was hoping would be a little less dead. It's dead as a doornail. I'm actually one of the first, another thing I am, one of the reasons chat's probably dead is I'm the first podcast to ever live stream an episode on YouTube. And I raised the ante rate up, because not only did I stream on YouTube, I'm the first podcast to stream on an episode recording on Instagram Live. I checked all of this out. If you just go to Guinness.com, it's very easy to find out if something's been done before. And in many of the cases of the things I've been talking about, they have not been done before. Well, I just kind of wanted to get all that stuff off my chest. You've really been a wonderful group of people. I love hearing my voice reverberate into your ears. And if you've watched this podcast even for a second, or you've listened to this podcast, namaste, thank you, sarate, all that good stuff. Live long and prosper. I'm Nick Flanagan, and if you do want to support the podcast, subscribe, rate, review, smash a like button, a follow button, and what would really be wonderful would be if you supported me either with a one-time donation financially, either with a one-time donation to paypal.me/Nickflanaganweakly, WEAKLY, or to patreon.com/Nickflanagan, or just with a straight up Venmo or bank transfer. That would blow my mind. Someone contacted me on Venmo. Hey, I'm a big fan of the podcast. Here's some sweet dough. What would I use this money for, you might ask? Nefarious purposes? I don't think so. Maybe the occasional massage. That's not nefarious. That's therapeutic. I would use this podcast money to the profit to pay the bills that the podcast has, which are mostly just monthly fees. And then I would maybe get new gear. I would buy glasses. I haven't bought glasses in 8 years. Get my teeth, go to the dentist so the teeth look nicer for if I meet you. And honestly, if I made enough money, I would do shows, tour. This is what I really would love to do. I did a show in Montreal the other week. It was awesome. Dave Hill did the show with me. He's also been a guest on the podcast. And it was just a treat. So I would do shows. I would buy, you know what? Elephant Man remains. I would spend the money on Elephant Man remains. Oh, this is a great question. Somebody in the Q&A is saying, do you prefer St. Bernards or Rottweilers? And then in brackets, dogs. First of all, this is self-promotion, but if you look up on my YouTube account, you will see a video by my band called Dogs. It's quite a fun video, so you can watch that. I believe both St. Bernards and Rottweilers are in the video. But yeah, that's a really tough one. Honestly, I'm going to go with Rotts, because I like Rottweilers because you can really see their facial expression. And they got, those hairless faced dogs, you can really get a sense of that they're good. Most of the time, they're good dogs. And St. Bernards are good, but, I feel like I'd call a St. Bernard over and he'd just lumber over. I don't have that kind of time. Run to me. And a Rottweiler can. Hope you enjoyed that answer. Yeah, St. Bernards have a short lifespan, I know. It sucks. I hate that so many dogs have, like, the dogs that are most of the dogs that are designed to be awesome have the shortest lifespan. The dogs that are like, give you that Marie Kondo feeling, that joy spark, the bulldogs, St. Bernards, golden retrievers, you can go on and on. Those dogs, for whatever reason, they don't make it past 9. Meanwhile, a very nice person in my life has an Italian Greyhound, tiny thing, and he's 14. I don't think he may never, I don't want to jinx him, but he may never pass away because he's so little. The little ones live forever. Ugh. What a thing to get a pet. What a thing to get a pet. is it beautiful or sad to get something that you'll outlive? Like, is it vain? You know what I mean? Like, well, I don't want to have a child because they might beat me time-wise. I want something that I'll outpace. Of course, if you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. That's really how I view it. You get a cat, you wake up, you got pounds and pounds of hair in your mouth. And then the cat looks at you and just goes, meh, walks away. I've talked about my cat before. The thing about my cat that makes it special is it's so furry that you can't see the inside of its butt. Sausage Peppers, who is so far the only person talking in the chat. So Sausage Peppers gets a lifetime subscription to if I ever make a magazine. Sausage Pepper says, get a gray parrot or a great tortoise. Yeah, tortoises live like 1,000 years, don't they? A gray parrot, they live a while? That's cool. Birds live a while. You wouldn't necessarily think so, right? Like, I would think a bird would just at any time randomly drop from the sky. Does that make sense? I want a pet seagull. Like a pet seagull that I could use to do hits on people I didn't like. Seagull. This man cut me off when I was a pedestrian. Jonathan, is that a tortoise or a gray parrot? Or is that just a man? Oh, Jonathan the tortoise is 185. That's beautiful. Maybe that's a way we can live forever, is like if we create technology that can turn animals into people, and then you turn a tortoise into a man, then it's going to live long. I have never gotten an IQ test, and I worry about the results. Well, Sausage Peppers, the other people watching this live, this is so fun. I love streaming this. I hope you had fun too. I really went for it today. Zip, zam, pow. You'd never know. It was 12:30 a.m. and I need to go to bed almost immediately. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. I'm going to play my theme. It's a different theme than the one you just heard at the beginning of this. Hang on. Nick. Oh, God. Flanagan. Weekly. Nick. Flanagan. Weekly. Nick. Flanagan Weekly. 4 times a week for you. Hello.